So, when you think about sports nutrition, a lot of times people immediately jump to bodybuilding and muscle building. It's kind of like the go-to place. And so you think about protein powders and things that help you build muscle. But the reality is there's a lot of people out there whose physical activity of choice has to do with endurance, has to do with other kinds of sports that aren't specifically bodybuilding. And so while there's a lot of focus on bodybuilding, this podcast is going to focus more on endurance athletes and the kinds of supplements and nutraceuticals that can be used for that. I'm Gene Bruno. I am professor of nutraceutical science at Huntington University of Health Sciences, and I'm senior director of product innovation at NutraScience Labs.
And I'm Ryan Gillen, account executive. I specialize in building new brands. Please subscribe, follow, like us on YouTube. If you have any questions during the podcast, feel free to leave them in the comments. We'll be happy to answer everything. What I've definitely seen, like you said, most supplements were built for bodybuilders.
That's right.
And now everything's built for those, whether it's a sport athlete, endurance athlete, triathlete, whatever it is. And it's definitely changed a lot of type of products that are out there.
Yeah, so okay, let's start by, I'm going to ask one of my favorite questions. You're an athlete, all right? I know you do various sports. Are there specific types of supplements that you use for endurance? And if so, what are they?
Yeah, so I played lacrosse in college. Deals with endurance, but I wouldn't say I'm like an endurance athlete at that time. But now I do a lot of CrossFit training and I do a lot of cycling.
That's endurance.
And I run every once in a while. So along with the endurance athlete, I still need to keep strength going. But the products I take, I'll take my protein still. I do take a carb supplement every once in a while where I mix with something. Yeah. And I dabble with some caffeine every once in a while to help with some energy. So, there are plenty of other products out there, but those are the usually ones that I like to use for my training.
All right, I'm going to talk about my extensive physical endurance activities. All right, so I actually do a little bit. It's not like you do. But I do like 2 30-minute aerobic walks a day, and I do just a little bit of strength training. And you know what? There are supplements that I use for endurance. Now, I'm avoiding more of the carbs because I'm trying to keep my weight down and everything. But there are other kinds of supplements. Like, for example, I use coenzyme Q10. I take a fairly hefty dose. I take about 300 milligrams a day. Why do I use that? And what does that have to do with endurance? So there's energy cycles in your body that produce ATP. ATP is the energy currency of the body that powers your muscles. So when you want more energy, more endurance, you need more ATP. Well, one of the energy cycles, coenzyme Q10 helps in integrating oxygen into the process, which allows you to make more ATP. So if you are making energy aerobically, which means with oxygen, 1 molecule of glucose will produce 38 molecules of ATP. Now, if you're producing it anaerobically without oxygen, 1 molecule of glucose will produce 2 molecules of ATP. Much more efficient to produce energy through aerobic metabolism. And coenzyme Q10 can help you do that. And in fact, there's studies on it showing it to help with endurance and energy. So it's a good thing to use.
And this ingredient is good for all ages,
correct? Oh, for absolutely all ages, utterly safe. There's a lot of other reasons to use it too, but that's one of the things I use. One of the other things I use is I use ashwagandha, a specific ashwagandha extract.
And that's an adaptogen, correct?
It is an adaptogen. It has a lot of benefits, but there's research showing cardiorespiratory benefits, improvements in VO2 max, measurements of basically endurance, okay? And so you end up being able to do your activity a little bit more effectively, a little longer period of time. You feel more energetic doing it. And ashwagandha has other benefits too. But, so those are a couple of the things that I use. You know what I also use? I use carnitine. L-carnitine.
Yeah.
Now, L-carnitine is, again, it's a sort of a fat transporter. Helps transport fat into the mitochondria and the muscle work, and be used as a source of fuel to make ATP.
And I see a lot of these L-carnitine, they're usually from what I've seen, they're like a liquid form. Is there a specific reason why it would be in a liquid form?
It's a convenience factor. I prefer it in the capsule form because I feel like it's more, has better stability.
Okay.
But so that also has an energy component to it, as well as helping in the reduction of body fat. But, those are some of the things that I do. Now, if we're talking to a brand owner, I'm going to tell you that there are different categories of endurance nutraceuticals, and you need to understand the different categories to see where they're going to play in your products. So the first category of endurance nutraceuticals is energy fuels. Literally those substances that are fuels that your body can, that'll use as the base material to help make ATP. So that includes things like carbohydrates. In past shows we've talked about carbohydrates. Carbohydrates are the fundamental energy fuel by the body. They're made of sugars. The sugars can be rapidly used to make ATP. You want to watch how much you take in, but
and which
type
of
carb. That's right. So that is one of them. Another one is medium chain triglycerides. Okay? MCTs, which have become very popular as part of keto and several other things. And that is a slower burning fuel. So it's going to kind of give you more extended endurance. It doesn't work as quickly as a carbohydrate.
I've seen a lot of people use the MCT oil in their morning coffee.
That's exactly correct. So you can use it in that. And actually, research shows if you substitute some other calories in your diet with MCTs, you can actually lose weight more effectively. But MCTs, especially if you combine it with carbs in some way, you can end up having sort of almost time-release energy fuels. Okay, the carbs are more quick. The MCTs take a little bit longer. It's a nice approach to it. There's also branched chain amino acids. The branched chain amino acids are leucine, isoleucine, and valine. Those three are used, particularly the leucine, in the production of energy. And so if you're taking branched chain amino acids, they can be used to help power you through and for endurance purposes as well.
And I feel like that's a product that I've taken, sometimes I just take it during the day just to hydrate, just to, mix it with water, or I take it, even during my workouts. I'll just have it in a bottle and I'll be drinking that during the whole time. The
fact is there's just a ton of research, especially on leucine, branched chain amino acids in general, but leucine. It's very, very effective, great energy fuel. Actually has some capacity to help repair muscle too. So, definitely those are good category, materials that fit in the category of energy fuel. Okay, so the second one, which I've talked about in the past and briefly here, is adaptogens.
And this is something that we have talked in the past podcasts, which this is probably the least utilized type of product that a lot of these brands out there don't have, but should have.
They should have. Adaptogens are sort of the unsung heroes of sports nutrition endurance. You find it in non-sports nutrition type supplements a lot for energy and endurance. People think of ginseng, rhodiola, ashwagandha, and they will use those things for stress and for energy and all. But in sports nutrition, you don't find that as much. It's becoming a little more popular. But these are key ingredients that really make a profound difference in energy. I already mentioned ashwagandha, cardiorespiratory improvement. In a past show, I talked about how rhodiola has been actually used in a number of studies. I talked about in the past.
Ginseng is another one.
And ginseng is another one. The thing about ginseng was really interesting. It's got tons and tons and tons of studies on it. Okay? And it really is effective as something to help promote energy. Again, adaptogens help your body to adapt under stress, whether it's physical, emotional, or mental stress.
And endurance athletes are definitely putting their body under a
lot of physical stress.
If you're running a marathon, that's a lot of stress on the body.
Physical and mental.
Yeah. A lot of it is mental, trying to get through those, was it 26.2 miles?
Yeah, it's crazy, man.
Never done that. I don't think I ever will, but that's definitely a stressful type of
probably
exercise.
Won't do it anytime in the near future. But again, those are things that can be used on an ongoing basis and make a big difference in your ability to have greater overall effectiveness in the gym, in your sport, just greater endurance. And they have other benefits too for other areas of stress in your life. So that's good. Then there are what I refer to as ATP promoters, all right?
And you were talking about CoQ10.
CoQ10 is one of them. CoQ10 is a wonderful one. well, I use it all the time. And of course, it has other benefits too. It's a great cardiovascular nutrient. People who take statin drugs, the statins will reduce CoQ10 production in the body, so you can compensate by taking CoQ10, that kind of thing. But it's a great choice. Now, one of the other things, and I know you know about this because we talked about it previously, is Shilajit.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't know anything about that type of ingredient until I started getting into the industry, and it's an amazing ingredient.
Yeah, Shilajit, for those who don't know, is an Ayurvedic dietary ingredient, and it's actually mineral pitch. It comes from rocks in the pristine Himalaya mountains.
Yeah.
And
it's like rock sweat. It's like
kind of rock sweat. Yeah. But it's been used as part of Ayurvedic medicine for thousands of years, and there's some fascinating research on it. I have read really interesting research on it, showing that as an adaptogenic material, it's an adaptogen, but we don't always think of it like that traditionally. But it does have that capacity. But it's been shown to help not only increase testosterone, but it's been shown, they actually did studies showing increases in ATP as a result of supplementing with Shilajit. And it's important to use a good one, making sure that you don't have one that has heavy metals in it. And again, if you're a brand owner, be very careful who your contract manufacturer is. They can recommend a good one that you can use in your products. You don't want to start getting heavy metals.
And there's always trademarks that actually have,
trademark materials that have been studied
behind it, that like you need to use this dosage to have this, and you could even market that on your label if you do use those trademark materials at that dosage that they recommend.
That's correct. And in general, listen, as brand owners, you want to really make sure you're using the right kind of materials and the right products. Again, your contract manufacturer can help you with that. Another material, and I don't generally like to talk about branded materials, but in this particular case, I'm going to mention it only because it's a combination of different plant materials that was put together. It's a material called Fitness, or FIIT-NS.
I've actually never heard of this.
It's by a raw material supplier. They've done some good studies on this. What's really cool about it is that they actually found about a 359% increase in energy from using this. So that's like a 3.5 times increase in energy. And it does some other wonderful things, but it really actually helps with that whole energy endurance angle, and hence the name Fitness. And so that's something else that can be integrated.
And would this be like added to another product, or would you have
it could
be
a
standalone?
You could have it as a standalone. You could. Well, I think the dose is something like 900 milligrams a day. So you can put it in capsules. You can mix it in with other powders. It's things you could do with it.
Right.
So I mean, there's a number of things to do. But in terms of ATP promoters, that's kind of what I would go with. And those are some of the basic ones. In the last category of endurance promoting nutraceuticals would be stimulants, and the number one is caffeine. Right. So caffeine, and listen, caffeine is effective. If you have a sensitivity to caffeine, or if you're real young, you should watch.
But there's always different ways of getting it where it's not as harsh, like maybe like a green tea extract, or you can get it, but it's not as
well, because green tea also contains naturally occurring L-theanine, and L-theanine is kind of balance it out. It creates helps to like calm the jitters that you might get from caffeine. But a lot of people don't have a problem with caffeine. I can drink 5 cups of coffee in a day. I don't get any jitters.
Yeah, I mean I've had like 6
and of course
cups
I
of
never do that. I would never drink that much coffee in a day.
Didn't we just have a shot of espresso at lunch?
Yes.
Yeah, I think so.
We're supposed to say that.
I know. I'm sorry.
Anyway, so yeah, but caffeine. There's a lot of studies on it. Its effectiveness for helping with energy, even for mental focus. And listen, when you're in a sport, you know that focus is very, very important. And caffeine not only helps you with your energy and endurance, but your focus, fatigue. I mean, it can be very effective. You don't have to go nuts on the dosage. A lot of times people are using, we mentioned it in another podcast, 400, 500, 600 milligrams.
I feel like at that point you start getting negative effects if you're an endurance athlete.
Listen,
you get those jitters.
100, 200 milligrams
concentrate.
is good. Yeah, you just don't need huge doses. Or if you're going to do it, if you want to use more than that in a day, just break it up. A couple 100 milligrams, maybe a couple of times a day. But don't take it too late, otherwise it'll keep you up.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
But it is effective. It's a central nervous system stimulant, but it has also a legitimate role in energy production. It actually helps to stimulate the conversion of stored glycogen, your muscle sugar, into glucose, which can then be used for energy fuel. So it does have that role to play. There's also some other materials like theacrine,
Okay.
which is an interesting material that, when used together with caffeine, enhances the energy and endurance effects. There's some benefits by itself, theacrine, but it's actually better when you combine it with caffeine.
Will this cause you to use less caffeine and kind of balance it out between
Yeah,
the two?
actually you can. You can use less caffeine if you're using theacrine. So it's a good thing.
Yeah. I mean, through, dealing with brands, a lot of another category that I've seen, or you can go into one of these, is like cordyceps and mushroom extract.
Sure.
I started dabbling a little bit into it, and I've seen, some benefits from it through just endurance athlete, more stamina. Can you, enlighten us about
I
that a
remember
little bit?
in was it the late 90s or the early 2000s? Anyway, I can't remember. It was one of those. There was
All a blur.
There was a lot of there was a lot of buzz about cordyceps. How women in China on Olympic teams were winning gold medals and stuff, and part of their training regimen was cordyceps, and so that they were attributing some of the benefits to that. And certainly mushrooms in general are good as immune system support agents, but some of them actually do have effects for energy and endurance. Cordyceps certainly is one of those very popular for that purpose, and so that is something that can be integrated into a program, and is really healthy and good for you at the same time.
Definitely. And I mean, when I took it, I definitely saw a difference, and I really enjoyed it. And for those brand owners out there that are looking to build out to their endurance athletes, remember what fuels you want to use. Again, adaptogens, super important. Most of the companies out there do not have those part of their supplement line. ATP promoters and stimulants.
I'm going to add one more just for fun. So one of the other things you can do is there's different amino acids, and some of the amino acids, if you take them by themselves, have very specific functions. If you were to take phenylalanine or tyrosine, and phenylalanine turns into tyrosine in the body, if you were to take that, it actually helps in the production of a neurotransmitter called dopamine, which is one that helps keep you mentally alert. Also helps the production of norepinephrine, which is another one of those mentally alert neurotransmitters. So the use of that can actually be somewhat beneficial.
And would these ingredients be seen maybe, is that like a branch chain amino, like maybe an EAA product or an essential amino acid product? Because I know those two can be slightly different in the type of products that they are.
Yeah. So here's the deal. If you're taking like an essential amino acid product, you're getting a spectrum of different amino acids, maybe 8, 9, 10, whatever. And those are great, and those can be used by your body for many things, including muscle growth. But if you want a specific effect, then you need to take that certain amino acid, and some amino acids compete with each other for absorption. So if you're looking for a specific effect, you might want to take that amino acid by itself without all the other proteins present in order to get the desired effect. And so that's one of the things to do. Some amino acids you could use phenylalanine together with like the branch chains because they don't compete. But with a whole essential amino acid one, there's going to be some competition, so I would use that by itself.
Okay. And this is something for you brand owners that your contract manufacturer can help you decide whether an EAA product or a BCAA product would be more beneficial for your clientele.
Yeah, I mean, also just, we talked about all these different categories of energy, endurance materials. And what should you have? Maybe you have some ideas already about what kind of products you want in your brand. But again, the contract manufacturer, a good one, can help you, give you some direction and decide based on what your goals are and who you want to go after, what's the best mix for you. Do you need one product? Do you need several products? What do you want to do? So again, contract manufacturer can help.
I think that wraps up for supplements for endurance athletes. Next, we're talking about how to pick a strong manufacturer and build a strong partnership with them. We actually have a special guest.
We do.
Next podcast. So it's going to be Blaney McEnany, who's the VP of Sales at NutraScience Labs. It's going to be very beneficial to have him on here. He's been in the business for 10 plus years, and he has a lot of insight on how to pick a strong contract manufacturer. Be sure to follow us, subscribe, like YouTube channel, and any questions, leave them in the comments. Be happy to answer everything for you. Gene, thanks.
Thank you.